I'm Dr. Fenobia Dallas. I'm with Women of Colors, and today we're going to be talking with some military veterans about their issues, their situations, and their successes. Today we have with us
Sean Weaver,
Darren Humes,
and Kevin Marshall.
We want to first thank our sponsors, that is the Mid-State Health Network and the Michigan Public Health Institute, to provide support and guidance for us in some of the things that we're dealing with in not only just mental illness, mental awareness, but also thinking about ways to strengthen ourselves and being more comfortable in our community. So let me ask you gentlemen, first of all, about what I would call your background. I myself am a military veteran also. I have 4 brothers, 4 sisters, and my father was actually in World War II. He volunteered, and that was my path into the military. What about you, Sean?
Me, I was born and raised here in Saginaw. My grandfather was a Korean War veteran, so that kind of laid the pathway for others in my family that wanted to join the military. So he kind of laid that example for us, and we just kind of followed his lead.
Okay.
I was born in Mississippi but raised in Saginaw. My grandfather and all his brothers and uncles served in the military. My stepdad, when I was a kid, was the aircraft mechanic for the Thunderbirds down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I didn't want to go into the military, but factors of life pushed me into it, and that's how I ended up in there.
Okay.
And myself, I'm born and raised here in Saginaw, Michigan as well. My father was a Vietnam veteran, and ever since I was young and seeing him be a part of the military, I knew I was going to go. You know, I didn't want to think about college, I went straight military.
Okay. I actually I would say, drifted into the military. I actually joined the Navy. And of my 4 brothers and 4 sisters, 7 of us were in the military at one point or the other, Navy or Marine Corps. And again, I think it's the family's influence that kind of gives you the perspective that this could be a potential career or a good job for you. And so when I joined, it was just kind of like everybody else did it, so why not me also? Let's talk a little bit about education. Where did you go to high school? What did you do in high school? Did you go to college? What were your thoughts about that? Did you finish, say, higher education before you went into the military or afterwards? Talk a little bit about that.
I'm a proud Bridgeport Bearcat. I graduated in 1987. From there, I was a product of the Saginaw City school system. I went to Emerson Elementary, Central Junior High, then I went on to Bridgeport. And after that, I went to the military. I went to college to play basketball for 2 years. Then I went to the military.
Okay.
Then I didn't do any higher learning after that. Then I went back to school probably within the last 10 years, went to Delta, Saginaw Valley, and I got my master's from USC.
Okay.
So.
Great.
What was the
Mr.
question?
Humes.
Me, I went through many schools in Saginaw. Started off at Heaven Ridge, went to C.C. Coulter, went back to Heaven Ridge, went to Houghton, went to Nell Haley, Weber, then Saginaw High. Then when I graduated Saginaw High, I went to Delta College for 1 semester. In the process of that, dealing with family issues, I was trying to do a research paper for psychology. They made me angry. Instead of hurting them, I went into the military.
Okay. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Coach?
And myself, I'm a proud Buena Vista guy. Went to Buena Vista schools from Henry Dorr, Clay to Rickard, and graduated in 1988 from Buena Vista. Like I said, didn't have admiration to go to college. I just wanted to go straight military. As a youngster, I was a little bit on the other side, so I knew I had to go and get it right, and I went military. But I did try college, but I wanted to work and coach, so I've been doing that ever since I got out in '92.
Okay. So let's talk about branches of service that we're in. And what did we do? Where did we get our training? What type of things were we thinking about when that happened? Because, boot camp basic training is
They lie to you.
you can't describe it to civilians. I hate to say that, but you can't. Civilians don't understand that concept of you let them do that to you, it's a mindset. So talk to us about your basic training.
Well, for me, it was all based on a life. So I joined the Navy. I was going to be an aircraft mechanic on land, is what the recruiter told me. I said, I'm not a good swimmer. He said, oh, don't worry about that. So quickly I found out that was a severe lie. So in basic training, we have the swim tests that we have to take.
Third class swimmer's test.
And you have to jump off this building, that's how high that platform is, into the water. So I'm like, I never jumped off a diving board before. So I did it, got out, found out I can swim and get out to the side. So once I figured out I just got to swim and, stay afloat a little bit and just get out. So
Survival
I figured
mode.
Yeah, so I just did. I can swim to survival. I can save myself. I can't save nobody else. So I went in and I thought I was going to be an aircraft mechanic, and then they have what's called career day, and then that's what they tell you your job's going to be. No matter what you signed up for, they place you in need. So I ended up going into medical. I was a corpsman.
Okay.
So after that, I went to my A school, C school, ophthalmology tech. That was all in San Diego. Then I went FMF at Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
And that landed me on the Marine
Marines.
side of things.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up going further down to the Persian Gulf War as a corpsman / Navy Marine. So
You got your basic training,
San Diego.
San Diego. So you pretty much had most of your tours on the West Coast.
NTC. That was at the time you could only go one of three places: NTC, Great Lakes, and Orlando. So I ended up at NTC, Naval Training Center,
Yep,
San
yep.
Diego.
Okay. Mr. Boot Camp, because I know you were the worst person they ever saw in the world. They wanted to put you out the first week.
To tell you the truth, my family had a bet that I went last 2 weeks because of my attitude. I started off, I left out, like you said, it's a big lie. I was supposed to went on the buddy system with my best friend. We both signed up together. We supposed to went to boot camp together. They sent him off to Fort Jackson the day before they sent me to Fort Dix. Just split us up. That was the first lie, That's when the hell
Where's
started.
Fort Jackson located?
South Carolina,
Fort Dix?
New Jersey.
So they really wanted to split you off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was, from the get-go and stuff. And got there, you got people mean mugging you, yelling at you. They trying to put the fear of hell in you. What their process was to tear you down, strip you of all your morals, thinking, logic, and replace it with theirs. So they do that by mass punishment, yelling, stress situations, and
PT.
things like PT, till you physically conform to where you have to make everybody else fall in line with you and stuff like that. And one time we was out there in New Jersey. You never know if it's going to be snowing 1 minute, hot 100 degrees, burning your hand on the pavement. We're in this mass punishment because somebody kept messing up, and I got jumped up and wanted to fight the drill sergeant and stuff like that. So, he was like, "You want to fight me, mister?" I said, "Yes, sergeant." He said, "Outstanding," Then he was cool with me and stuff like that. But, I just had enough. And then, like I said, my family had a bet that I wouldn't survive
Maybe
it.
2 weeks.
Yeah, because I was like, I wasn't going to take it. But I understand now the process, what they have to do to make a soldier out of you.
So after basic, where did you head to?
Left New Jersey, went to El Paso, Texas, Fort Bliss, 3rd Cavalry. Did 14 months there, went to Germany twice, came back, went to Hawaii, then left there, went to Korea, came back, and I got out in Hawaii.
Okay. So did a little bit of traveling.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Coach, where'd you get basic? Where'd you get trained?
Did training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, as they called it, Fort Lost in the Woods, where I seen spiders big as my hand, so that was kind of crazy. But being there, and then I just did the rest of my time in Fort Lee, Virginia quartermaster, and it's kind of funny what he said when I had that same situation with boot camp. I went in as a knucklehead. It took one phone call from a drill sergeant, made me call my mom. And he told my mama what he was going to do to her for having me. And I looked like I never heard nobody talk to my mama like that. So I straightened up and became the best I can be. And, went and did a year and a half in Iraq, and after that I came home. No
Mhm.
more. Couldn't
Yeah.
do it anymore. Yeah.
I got it. Yeah, I actually went to Naval Officer School in Rhode Island. And basically, they pretty much did the same thing to us. I actually finished college and then I joined the Navy. And yeah, it was one of those things, like you were saying, that they break down what you've learned in the civilian world, because they have to train you to react and to obey orders immediately,
Yeah.
because someone's life is on the line. And so you have to be trained to do that. And a lot of folks, I think, today are like, well, I'm not going to be in the military because they tell you what to do all the time. But it's not just you who is part of this situation. It's a lot of other people. Like, you understand that, Coach. When you talk with your players, you can't just be out there playing for yourself. You got to play for the team.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
kind of how I do it, like the boot camp was. You
Yeah.
know, strip them down to build them where I want them to be.
Mhm.
You know.
Okay. Yeah. And think about those things. So we've had some interesting things to think about in terms of military and military life. When you left the service,
Mhm.
okay, you left. No one retired. Why not?
For too much time for me. I did my 10,
Mhm.
and I was like, there's no way I could do another 10, or nor did I want to. So when I came back from the Persian Gulf, I couldn't wait to get out, because they was like, well, if you re-enlist, you might have to go back again to another tour. I was like, nah, not me. So I quickly got out.
Get out. Yeah. Why don't you retire?
Well, when I was stationed in Hawaii, there was a lot of, when I was there, there was a lot of racism and politics in the military. I met this dude that had a Hawaiian Filipino family that brought me home for Thanksgiving dinner. And he had a mobile disco thing and stuff like that, and he played on bass.
Okay.
And he asked me, to come check him out, when he's playing and stuff. He took me out to a few gigs, and I was due to re-enlist at the time, and he made me an offer to go into business with him.
Yeah.
But they were planning on sending me back to Korea, and so I couldn't tell them my plans, because all hell would come down on you while you're trying to clear, and
Yeah.
which they did anyway when they found out that I was getting out.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I got out and went into business with him, and left everything about the military behind me. I got rid of all my uniforms, I grew my hair out, my beard, and like I was never in there. I went off grid for 4 years. I didn't vote, I didn't register, I never used none of my benefits, not even my unemployment. I just left it all behind. My
Okay.
family didn't even see me for 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to do that transition.
Yeah.
What about you? When you got out?
I wanted to make a career out of it, but that war changed everything.
Yeah.
And being, like I said, a year and a half away over there, missing home, missing family, I just had enough. And when my time came up, I hurried up and said, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
And I came home.
And see, I think that's what civilians don't really understand about military life. We volunteer,
Yeah.
or we're drafted, but we do it because there's something. I always struggle with this myself. People are like, well, there's a flag, aren't you going to salute it? I said, it's not about saluting a flag. It's upholding the Constitution. That we all know that we weren't part of the Constitution when it was written.
Right.
Okay, but we know that there are things in us that we want to provide for others. And for me, it was sort of a struggle. Being an officer was different. There were different things that I had to deal with as an officer. Okay, different expectations. So when I got out, it was the transition from military to civilian life. It was not really difficult in terms of finding a job and acclimating myself. It was difficult in understanding that I was no longer an officer who, when you drove through the military base, somebody saluted you. And when you reach a certain point in your military career, you have gone through all the minutia, the dirt and all that other mess. And so you know that I've attained this level of leadership. I've attained this level of respect, and so now I have to leave all that behind and start all over again.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. And you dealt with it by just saying, let me go off grid and try to get myself back together. My biggest struggle came when, I would say probably 2 years after I left the Navy. I had a job and then I was laid off. You know, they don't fire you anymore. They reorganize. Well, you know, we just did a company reorganization and your job is no longer here. So, and for me it was like, really? What's going on? So you try to figure out, okay, well, I was in the military and they needed me. They used my skills, but people in the civilian world who I actually protected your right to do these things, you can't support me. So that was I think a challenge. And sometimes those challenges that we face, we don't think about it at the time, but 5 years, 10 years later, how are you dealing with those situations now? Again, looking back, would you have done the same thing? Probably, but how do you feel about those things now, Sean, in terms of what you did in the military life, leaving? Are you now successful?
Yeah, I would say I'm successful in my terms. You know, I'm not like, I'm not a movie star, pro athlete, nothing like that. But as far as the way my kids view me, I would say I'm successful. That's important to me. So I don't really get into like, what the other people think. I'm just viewed by how my circle views me. So getting out the military, you get the respect level. Like you say, you've been in your years, you gain the respect. You get the knowledge, and then when you get out, it's kind of like, Coach knows, being a freshman again in life. You're starting all over. Now you gotta, go through all the channels. Just like going to college, back to school. You're the freshman. You're the new guy. You don't really know nothing. You gotta learn the system. So learning the civilian system opposed to the military system is different, especially when you get out of coming from a war situation. So you're kind of like, when I got out, you was kind of leery of everybody that was from that part of the country. So you just kept eyes on everybody. And I still do that if I get on, and it's not a prejudice thing, it's just a thing that's in me. If I'm on an airplane and it's like, oh man, because you just got that in you from that time. So I still just deal with it in my own way, meditate, educating myself about mental health. Get my degree in social work, dealing with mental health has helped me understand what it's like. So the best way for me was to just educate myself on the topic and then work with others, helping me through my problems.
Yeah. Transition. I know you went off grid, but you came back. Why did you come back?
When I came back, when I transitioned, when I was in the Army, the outside world was called the world. Then you had Army life and you had the world life. And you can be inside that fence, looking out in two different worlds, like you said, Twilight Zone earlier. And that's how the transition was. When I got out, I had to reinvent myself. I had to learn how to talk like I'm on the outside. I had to walk like I'm on the outside. I couldn't be overproductive. I couldn't be overachieving. I couldn't be boisterous or anything like that. You had to really break your humble down. You had to bring your level down to a slow pace when everything is hurry up and wait, get there and wait. So then it's like, hey, bro, slow down. Being in Hawaii, things move at a slower pace. If you're moving too fast, you achieving your product too fast. No, we don't work that fast. You got to slow down. You making us look bad, or you just adding more work to us. If you do it too fast, they figure, oh, this is not hard enough, so they want to add more to you. All these things, and then what really brought me back was when the Gulf War started, and I knew the hardship I went through in the service before the Gulf War, and I saw pretty much what the Vietnam vets went through, which I served my time with, was mostly Vietnam vets. And then these guys was being mistreated and left behind, and it made me angry again. And I had to step up and try to make sure that these guys coming back was being treated proper, because I was treated wrong, and I wanted to make sure that that Army feeling you know, came back in me and stuff like that, and I started getting involved into the world again.
So reaching back and helping
Yeah.
your community, your buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Coach, what about you? You made that transition.
Be honest, I was young, so when I came home, it was like one of relief. I can enjoy myself. So I did for like 2 years. I just didn't care. I just enjoyed myself, and
Yeah.
then I ended up having my first child, and that humbled me and made me grow up. And then once that happened, like with my father being a vet, he helped me through a lot of the rough stuff that I was going through behind the scenes nobody knew about.
Yeah.
You know, because I guess I will be honest, Bottle was my friend.
Yeah.
And that's how I dealt with a lot of things.
Yeah.
And, you know, just having him there to help me push through it, and as well as helping him, because he was kind of like him. He didn't care and didn't want to deal with nothing. You know, even to the day he passed, I couldn't get him to go get his benefits. He wouldn't do it. So I dealt with it that way, and then I just got back into working with kids, you know, and that's what I've, you know, been doing ever since. I've been coaching and, you know, running mentoring programs and doing stuff like that. And now I'm at a standstill when the recruiters come into school and they go talk to the kids. Then I say, what do you lie about? And, you know, and then I'll go and talk to recruiters and you tell them the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, you shouldn't blow us up like that. I said, I mean, be honest with me.
Yeah.
It was a guy did the same thing to me.
Yep.
And probably my life would have went something different if that guy didn't tell me those lies.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of like, I push a kid, if he has to go, I understand. But if not, go to college. Go see that life first.
Yeah.
And if-
Here's an opportunity. Here's a different alternative.
Yeah. And that's why I told them, fall back on it. You know, if you have to use it as a fallback, don't make that your first priority. And it's sad that I say that because I'm a proud vet, but at the same time, it's things I'm not happy about. You know, even to this day. So, you know, and I have to be honest and I'll be real with my kids.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think that's the key. That military life has allowed us to be more real.
Yeah.
We see people straying down the wrong path and jack them up. You know what? That's not what you should be doing. Try this, or try that, or go see so-and-so to help you out. Because we learned, because of that military experience, to build communities, to build our own communities.
Yeah.
I'm still, I guess, sort of in the military. I'm still traveling. I don't know how many places I've lived. I've lived now in Saginaw since 2005, so a little bit over 15 years. But this probably won't be my last stop, because, you know, I keep the passport active. I see a need, and I've got to go deal with it. And I've learned, because of my parents, to build community wherever I am. And I think that is something that the military has given us to realize. Think back to you know, growing up with your family, high school, joining the military. Those folks that you were thrown into boot camp with, never seen them before in your life. They make people like that on this planet. Where are they coming from? But you learn over a period of time to work with anybody and everybody, because you know your goal is, again, to keep everyone safe, to bring everyone back home. And that stays with you. It never goes away. You can fall off the grid, but you're going to come back and help, because you know there's somebody who needs something that you have to offer, that you have to share with them. And I know it's difficult to share military life with people. I know I struggle with it sometimes. People say, what did you do when you were in the Navy? I just say, I had a top secret clearance and I can't tell you. And they don't understand that. Well, just tell me. No, because whatever I did, you wouldn't be able to make a connection with that. You would, you know, I remember a young lady asked me one time, was the Navy like the Love Boat? I'm like, nah, we're haze gray. And we're always underway, never in port, okay? But those lessons that we learned from the service now serve us. And it's incumbent upon us to serve others. So how, when you're in that place where you're struggling, how do you get out of that place? What do you do?
That's my question.
That's everybody's question. My question is, my response is, what I do, I garden. I go back to what I call the basics. My mother's from Arkansas. My dad was from Atlanta, Georgia. They got married and moved to Toledo, Ohio. But we always had some kind of garden somewhere, because that was my mother. It was, when they grew up, in the early 20s, didn't have a whole bunch of grocery stores, still don't. But they always wanted to be self-sufficient. So they taught us to always have some kind of garden. So I do that now. That's my safe space. That's the place where I can go out and dig in the dirt, and actually it's playing in the dirt. That's part of that too. But I can plant something and see it grow. That continuation, that helps me. So what do you do when you're in that crazy place and you need to get out of it? Not necessarily get out of it, but something that helps you deal with it.
Well, for me, I do a couple things. I'm a really big music guy, so I can just throw on some old music and just kind of just drift out of that situation or that mindset. And then I got back active in church and strengthened my relationship with God and prayer, meditation, that kind of things like that. That helps you. You have to sometimes look in the mirror and just kind of check yourself and be like, it's just all noise. It ain't real. You just have to just bring it back down, tune it in. And friends, family, because everybody, you can't be around everybody. I learned that everybody ain't supposed to be your friend. Even your family, you have to let go of some family members. So you just have to build your team, your circle, and that's who you deal with. Because anybody outside of that circle, they could be a trigger. So I just keep my circle tight. I talk to other veterans because they kind of, they understand. All veterans, no matter what branch of service you in, we speak the same language.
Yep.
So we can communicate. And that kind of, working at the VA, I talk to veterans all day long. So I'm therapy all day, talking to everybody. So I'll see him every now and then go to the post, see him. So we just kind of communicate like that. That keeps me even, allows me to be I don't want to use the word normal, but a better person.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, you develop vices. I've been down when the bottle was your friend, and that bottle is never ending because you can always get another.
Yep.
So
Worst case.
So you just have to figure all that stuff out, and it takes time.
Yep.
You gotta have the right people around you. You gotta be. It could be your spouse, girlfriend, whoever. They just gotta be the right person around you, because a bad person can come in any ID. They could be any one of those people. You can develop to be a bad person, and you have to eliminate it, basically.
I hate you right now because you just triggered that bad person.
Yeah, you just gotta retool.
Is that one person that when you see him, you just... Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have one of those.
When I can, I fish and chew on toothpicks. This is my magic wand. People sometimes don't understand, think it's offensive that I won't take it out of my mouth. But they don't want me to take this out of my mouth because all safeties go off when I drop this out of my mouth or something happens. My wife sometimes don't understand, I will sleep with this toothpick in my mouth sometimes. It gives me, it's like my radar. It senses things, it does that. I tell people this is like the Jedi. This is, it keeps that demon that's dying to get out. If y'all trigger that person, this toothpick keeps them in. And I keep telling them, then some have been witnessed when this came out. Once we was in Walmart and I was walking with my two daughters when they were younger, and I was talking and it fell out, and I said, God dang. And her youngest daughter said, it's okay, Dad, we can go home. My older was laughing and said, Dad got another one. She said, what happens if you didn't have another? I said, somebody gonna get jacked up. And my oldest one, she has been privy to my anger, when I didn't have a toothpick, I've been triggered, some triggered and things by them doing things, or, I can't stand nobody to walk behind me.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
coming out of my privilege, I'm
Yes.
gonna react.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna react real bad and stuff, and I always say, either walk in front of me or walk on the side of me. And we come around corners sometimes, and I'm ready to react because I didn't know you were there. And I was like, I go through boxes of toothpicks, and don't let me run out of my favorite. And it's hard to find that right one to get me
Yeah.
back calm again.
Understand, yeah.
But that's my vice, and some people don't understand. Hey, that guy with that toothpick. I say, y'all just don't know about this toothpick.
Yeah, maybe they don't want to know.
They don't want to know.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah. What you got for us, Coach?
Mine is one is music,
Yeah.
and then coaching. But what Mr. Weaver said, if I think about it, having my wife in my life, I probably would have been off the edge. But she's there, keeps me under control, and getting me back in that good place. But music and coaching is how I get away from everything. A lot of people ask me, how do you coach when you don't like being around people? I look at it as that's my troops. I zone in on them, and I don't see people. But when it can be 20,000 people, I spot my wife out of everybody. But other than that, it's just my kids that I coach. But that's my getaway when I'm in that world.
Yeah. So we need people around us who are maybe not necessarily understanding what we're going through, but at least understand our need to do certain things to be able to stay focused. But they also understand that there's sometimes that we need to go off and do things on our own.
Yeah.
And okay, I didn't call you for 2 days. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm just doing some stuff on my own. I need to rehash. I need to reset myself. It's okay. But we need those people. And they help us. And I think that if more of our military veterans understood that, we could get probably some of them off the street who have given up, who have chosen not to seek help, who have chosen to really distance themselves from us, their community. So I think it's important that we continue to share what we know about not just military life, but life after the military, to show those veterans that you can do it too. We all went through training. We went through boot camp. We went through basic. We managed to get through that.
Right.
And we want to talk with our gentlemen here about their COVID-19 situations. So what's going on in your lives? So Sean?
Well, I actually had a very bad case of COVID that kept me out of work about 6 months. So I had everything, had respiratory, cardiac problem. I lost about 40 pounds. So when I got out of the hospital, I was the same person that I went in, and it just happened really fast. Happened like over like a 5-day period. So, and I also had COVID, double pneumonia. That's what I had. So I had to, learn to breathe and walk again and all that stuff. So COVID is a very serious thing. And there are some people that think COVID is fake. I'm here to tell you that it is 100% real, and it has no preferences of who it bites. It's not prejudice. It's not military based. It's just you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You get the wrong bug, it could take you out. I haven't had any family members that passed from it, but my grandmother had it, and she recouped pretty good. She's a warrior type. She's 90. We had the same type of COVID, but she didn't need no oxygen when she got out. So that's her testament of being, her. That's why we call her the warrior. For myself, I needed oxygen and I needed everything. So I used all the tools that I could have in my house. So it took me a while to get back. So getting back into the workforce now, it just makes you leery of who you're around and things of that nature. And advertising and, you know, people, this vaccination versus that vaccination, this company versus this company, makes you wonder which one, or if they're just blowing smoke or whatnot, because people think now just because you're vaccinated and boosted that you're not immune to it, which is just, you're not immune to it, you can still get it. So, so I'm just taking it slow, the world's not the same, it's the COVID world now.
Right.
So you just walk around in a glass bubble. I don't go around a lot of people, so I keep my distance. I don't do a lot of gatherings and stuff unless it's a special occasion. Like now it's graduation season, so getting out to do some open houses and stuff, go to church, but other than that, not too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, 2 years, shut down away, closed people out, tightened my circle to my immediate family. We didn't go places or restaurants or movie theaters. If we did, I got wipes and towels, on the seats, and I lost a lot of communication with people and family and stuff, kind of drift apart, forgot how to socialize, during COVID and stuff like that, because you didn't see people, you didn't talk to them as much physically, and you didn't do things that you used to, so it kind of you drifted off, you didn't have that same bond anymore.
Right.
It was just getting out to me, you starting over. I don't know how, if I see this person, I saw you in 2 years, 3 years, how I'm gonna react when I see you. I don't have emotional ties to a lot of things anymore because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's been pushed back, pushed away, and then now coming out of COVID, it don't matter if you boosted, had your shots or not. Like you said, wrong place, wrong time. It's coming, and I got it through my wife. Came home with it, from her job and stuff like that. She thinking that was just a cold. I'm trying to say, you got it, you need to go get tested. She refused, jumped to me, jumped to my youngest daughter, jumped to my oldest daughter, went through the whole family and stuff again. But when COVID first came out, I had quadruple bypass surgery. And they did the heart surgery so fast, and they sent me home to recovery because of COVID was so strong. And it was again, nobody could come around me because of COVID and because of my heart surgery. Right. So I drifted a lot away from a lot of family members and stuff like that because I'm only back in that mindset. This is my core group, and that's only ones I'm dealing with. All these family gatherings, I never go to. How many funerals people in my family have passed, but I will not go in a crowd, in a funeral situation. Everybody wants to hug you, shake your hands. No, that's too close. I don't know who you've been with, who's been around you and stuff like that. I know my circle and where they've been, and that's what I just try to keep it still yet. Yeah. It's real. Like John said, we'll see each other at the polls and stuff like that, but it's not a long, prolonged gatherings or big gatherings I won't attend.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some family members, that caught COVID, so I know what he's talking about. The worst part for me during that time, my dad was in a nursing home, and for months I had to talk to my dad through a glass window, and that was the worst thing ever to me. Somebody I touched, talked to, hugged every day, and I couldn't talk to, physically touch for months, and then he declined, getting sicker and sicker in there. So, so that was probably the worst part for me, and why I kind of had that dark side came back, because I couldn't be with my, so that messed with me a lot. But other than that, I was like everybody else, working in the school district. You had to watch it because kids, you don't know where they come from, where they go. So you was always on high alert. Then kids catch COVID. They didn't tell us as staff, so we never knew. So it was tough. It messed with you mentally a lot. So like you said, when I got home, wife stopped. Clothes got to go off there. I'm like, man. So it was different. It was different.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest challenge I had was, well, two challenges, I think. I'm a natural introvert. Okay, believe that. And actually, I enjoyed literally being by myself for almost 2 years because like I don't have to deal with. Can I say I don't have to deal with stupid people? I don't have to explain myself or whatever, and I actually just enjoyed it. But the challenge then on the other side was that when back to teaching on campus, that type of thing, you have students who are wearing masks, and I didn't know my students anymore. Okay, who are you?
Yeah.
And you look different, and okay, you don't really know who you're talking to. So it was a challenge not just seeing people, but making that connection because you're wearing a mask, and I think this is who you are, and that's a challenge for a professor because I need to know my students because I need to be able to assess their work, be able to make sure they're going to finish their degree. So didn't know them. In fact, just had commencement here back in May, and I saw like 5 students graduate. I said, "Oh, that's what they look like," because you just don't see people's faces. But in some ways, it reminded me of, and that's why I think I didn't really have that much of a challenge with the 2-year quarantine because it reminded me of some of my tours of duty, where you were kind of away from people because of the nature of your work. And sometimes that was a good thing, sometimes it wasn't a good thing, because you didn't want to immerse yourself back in that world to just simply cut yourself off. But, having, dealt with that pandemic for 2 years, it actually reminded me of a situation when I was in the Navy when we first started getting flu shots. And they tested the military first on all the different shots. And they told everybody on base to line up. You're going to get your flu shot. And I'm like, I don't need a flu shot. And half the crew did, and the other half didn't. So next pay period, the CO decided that the only way for you to get your paycheck is to get your flu shot. Well, I went on direct deposit right away. Never had a flu shot. But when COVID came around, I said, I need to get those shots because this is something that was serious. That, like you said, doesn't care who it's going to get, who it's going to hit. You don't know who has it, who doesn't have it. A lot of people now are getting the breakthrough COVID, where somebody is actually a carrier. You've been vaccinated and everything, but you still get the cold, sore throat, or whatever just because you're around that person. And this thing is serious. And there's still a lot of people who think it's just a joke. They're just, trying to, give us strange stuff in our blood and stuff. So, I don't know. How do you deal with family and friends who refuse to get vaccinated? Some can't because of existing medical conditions. And we understand that. But those, I think, that can and choose not to, for me, I think of them as not being very good, military family. Because you're not taking care of me because you're refusing to get that shot, just because you don't want to. And you couldn't be in my division. I'd have to get you transferred out because we all have to work together. So, yeah, COVID is here to stay, maybe.
Yeah.
Same like
Yeah.
So, if there was a piece of advice that you could give to someone, family, friend, stranger, or something that you reflect on in terms of your tours of duty, time in the military, successes, failures, things that you want people to know about, what would that be?
That's a good question. You got to find yourself. Just know in life you're going to make some mistakes. You can recover from them. People are going to talk about you. They're going to say what they say. But you just got to know who you are and what you stand for, and just don't let that noise rent space in your head. So Saginaw's a small city, so it don't take much for bad news to spread or rumors to spread or whatever. And people always have their opinion of who you are, what happened to you without talking to you. So my advice for anybody is, if you want to know something about me, just ask me. I'm going to tell you the real truth. And we don't have to worry about their side, my side, and that other side. So just be true to yourself. Increase your relationship with God or whoever you pray to, because that's important, because you do need, for me, a prayer works for me. So, and I wasn't always a praying person as much as I am now, so I know that it works now, because I wouldn't be here if I wasn't praying through them COVID nights. So that's my advice. Just be true to yourself and surround yourself with others that are true to you, and you be true to them.
Success, failures, words of advice?
Success, self-made. I am who I am. I tell people, don't follow fad, don't follow the be individual, be who you, be original. You don't have to do everything everybody else doing. Do the opposite. Be yourself. A lot of people know me. If you don't want the truth, don't ask me, because I'm going to give it to you straight. I mean, I'm not going to cut no corners. My oldest daughter, she always, she acts like me now, but she's been trained that way. She, how does she put it? She has PTSD from my PTSD.
Yeah.
Because people used to say when she was growing up that I was training an assassin. I said, no, I'm training her to be vigilant. I'm training her I'm not always going to be here. I can't protect you always. I'm going to teach you all the skills you need to know in life that I had to learn on my own. Now, she's a successful artist. She's got her career. She got through college 4 years. She got a degree. She's functional. She's totally functional. And I always told her the best thing you can do is somebody trying to tell you something is to listen. Whether you take the advice or not, but listen. Somebody, an older person trying to tell you a story that's going to help you in life, listen. It was Sergeant Major, forget his name, used to say quotes or say things to me. We would sit there drinking, and he was like, be careful what you wish for, because you might get what you want, and you might not like it once you get it. And when you in the military, you wish for a lot of things, stuff like that. And then when it comes true, it's like, what the hell did I wish for that for? It's too late, you can't take it back. But that logic comes back in the back of my head, and it comes to the front. And I apply that. I stop wishing. I work for what I got. I accept what I get. And when it comes, it comes. And that's the only thing that you can do in life going forward.
Yep. One thing with me, I like to think about the success with my family. 3 beautiful kids, 5 beautiful granddaughters. As a young man, I was told I wouldn't see 18. I'll be 52 next month. And I think coming up, growing here in Saginaw, that's a success story. Being able to coach kids, give back, from being a knucklehead now, helping knuckleheads, to become better. And then it's something that you said, but I say this since I've been coaching, and it's don't wish for it, you work for it. And that's the motto that I live by. And I spread that to the kids, so that would be it.
Well, for me, I guess it's a strange thing. When I was growing up, I was always the smart one. I don't know what that meant, but they said I was reading, had my head in the book. My mother said, if you're reading when it gets twilight and dark without turning the light on, you're going to go blind. So that's why I'm wearing glasses today, I guess. But I never really thought of myself as a teacher. I was always showing people how to do things. I just thought, okay, you don't know how to do it, let me show you how to do that. I just always did those things. But I've been through a number of different careers, and so when I finally became a professor, it was kind of like everybody said, well, we knew you were going to do that anyway. But I never saw that. So for me, I look at that in terms of now my students. And I try to encourage them to do something beyond what they see or know. What do you want to do? Not what your parents want you to do, or not what you see your friends do, but what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And some of them, I just pull them aside and I said, what do you want to do in 5 years? Where do you see yourself? And sometimes just having that little talk with them gives them a sense of, wow, there's something beyond what I thought I could do. I can do something other or different and make myself happy. Okay. And to me, that's the best part of it. Just, counseling, mentoring, sharing, giving them those stories. I've been through this. Let me help you. You don't want to help. Don't want the help. I get it. But like you said, listen to folks. You don't have to take their advice, but it's always good to listen and get different perspectives. Survival is a good thing, but living happy and free is so much better. So again, I'm Dr. Fenobia Dallas with Women of Colors. And we thank our gentleman here for speaking with us today about military life, life after the military. And we especially thank our sponsors, Mid-State Health Network and the Michigan Public Health Institute. And thank you all for being with us tonight.